Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me spend some time with you. I do appreciate it. If Susie's barking at something, if you happen to be listening to the audio only, probably a good idea today because I just noticed my shirt looks a little wrinkly, but okay. I need to remind you to do all the like, share, subscribe things. Just a friendly reminder. And before I get too far, because I am going to be talking about what is in Inheriting Lies, the books are available at authorjerrymitchell.com, or you can go to givegod90.com and they'll be there. There's a link there too. Trust me, it's there. Now, as promised, I'm going to begin a series, and I don't like doing series, but it's the best way I know to do this. I thought about doing it live, and I'm like, that's not really fair to the people who might want to comment later. So recording it's probably my best option still. So, and it does come, what I'm going to talk about does come from Inheriting Lies. It comes from the chapter, Let the Heresy Trial Begin. Okay. Now, some of you are going to agree with some of the things I say, just like usual. Some of you are not, and that's okay. It's okay. Some of you might feel a little uneasy hearing what I'm going to say, and that's okay too. So it's all right. Just relax, just be calm. Some of you might get a little angry at some of the things that I say through this series. That's okay, as long as you understand why you're angry and what you're angry about. Right? You can be mad at me. That's fine. You can turn me off. That's fine. Doesn't matter. But I really hope that you will stick with it to the end and you'll understand why. Now, for those who have read Inheriting Lies, thank you very so much for doing so. I hope you're going to learn a little bit more as we go through this. And for those who haven't, it's okay. I know there's a lot of people out there who don't get the chance to do that for whatever reason, and that's okay too. But hopefully hearing this will make you wonder, well, what else is in there, right? And I'm not doing this for advertising. I am doing this because this needs to get out. The book's been out now for a couple of years, and this message needs to go out. Now, because there's people who haven't read it, or who are new to listening or watching me, we need to get some basic fundamentals out of the way. Okay, so this may be a review for some of you. It may not be a review for all of you, but we're going to go through it, and we're going to start in Genesis. It's always a good place to start, right? And in Genesis 1:14, this is the fourth day of creation, by the way. God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to distinguish the day and the night. Let them to be signs to mark the seasons, days, and years." Now, you're going to be saying, why in the world would you start there? That's a funny place to start. It's important. It's important because there's a word in this verse that you miss a lot of the meaning of if you're not familiar with Hebrew. Now, in this verse and in others, depending on your translation, let's just say, depending on your translation, it may be set time or set times. Depending on context, it has a lot to do with it, right? But it's typically going to be considered an appointed time. In Genesis 17:21, it's after Abraham's told he's going to have a son. I will establish my covenant with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you this time next year. This time is appointed time, at this appointed time next year. Right? So we have a word that basically means we're going to have an appointed time. Now for the connection, Leviticus 23 verse 2, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, these are my appointed feasts, the feasts of the Lord that you proclaim as sacred assemblies. Word translated feast here, same word as appointed times. These are my appointed times, right? Another word here that is sometimes translated as convocations, which means, assembly, can also be defined as rehearsals. So let's think about this. Before Adam was created, a way for mankind to track time was created so that we would be able to know when to get together to rehearse for something. Before Adam was created, our Creator said, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this. Well, he already knew how he was going to do it. But he established sun, moon, and stars to give us a way to track time so that we would know when he wants to meet with us. I'm going to jump ahead quite a bit to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 1. The writer of Hebrews puts it this way in Berean Study Bible. For the law is only a shadow of the good things to come, not the realities themselves. It can never, by the same sacrifice offered year after year, make perfect those who draw near to worship. Now, I kind of like the way the International Children's Bible puts it a little bit better. I think it's easier to understand. The law has only an unclear picture of the good things to come in the future. It's not a perfect picture of the real thing. The people under the law offered the same sacrifices every year. These sacrifices can never make perfect those who come near to worship God. Now, a lot of times people are going to see the word sacrifice in here and they're going to say, it doesn't matter. Those things have been done away with. I don't need to be concerned with that. I just don't need to be concerned with it. Well, the verse itself basically tells us not to focus on the sacrifices, right? If we're not supposed to focus on the sacrifice, what are we supposed to focus on? The unclear or the shadow pictures, right? And we should ask ourselves, well, why are they so important? What's going on? What are they talking about here? Now, when we read the Old Testament carefully, we find there's a few references for things to be done over and over and over again. And there's a lot of instructions that surround these things, but the things themselves are reasonably few. Okay. It's kind of like something we would see if we're going to rehearse for something, if we're going to practice for something, right? What are we rehearsing for? What are we practicing for? Well, today we call them the feasts of the Lord, the appointed times of our Creator. And for 2,000 years, Christians have considered these Jewish celebrations. Nowhere in the Bible will you find that these appointed times have been handed over to anyone. Our Creator retains ownership of these appointed times for himself. They belong to him. If someone says, well, it's only for the Jews, they would be wrong. Very, very wrong. They're not for the Jews. These appointed times that our Creator retains for ownership for himself are for our Creator. He allows us and he desires us to celebrate with him at the time of his choosing, not at the time of our choosing, not at the time of our convenience. These are not random dates penciled on a calendar page. These are the Creator's appointed times that are so important. Our calendar was designed to let us know when they are. It's that simple. You could go so far as to say that, the calendar was created around these appointed times. Bad part, we've corrupted them. We really have. Everybody Everybody's guilty. Everybody's guilty. There's no innocent bystanders here. We've corrupted these times over the years. You know, I'll give you, for instance, Passover and the week of unleavened bread. We've combined them into one. And that only makes an already unclear picture even more unclear, right? If you take something fuzzy and then you know, if you have a fuzzy photograph and you crumple it up, it's even going to be more difficult to see. It's that simple, right? So I'm going to begin with Passover, the rehearsal of Passover, actually. And if you trust the God of Abraham, pay very, very close attention. It's not the meal that's important. It's not the meal that is the focus of Passover. It is the actual actions leading up to the meal that are the rehearsal, right? A meal is just a meal. But the things you do to prepare for it, that's what is important. In Exodus 12:3, tell the whole congregation of Israel, on the 10th day of the month, each man is to select a lamb for his family, one per household. So on the 10th day, you go out and you pick the best lamb you have available to you, right? Not just any lamb, the best one you can find. The best one that is available for you. Now, down in verses 6 and 7, you must keep it until the 14th day of the month, when the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel will slaughter the animals at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and put it on the sides and tops of the door frames of their houses where they eat the lamb. So a lamb selected on the 10th day, slaughtered on the 14th day. Take a short rabbit trail here, not very long, but Christians, you claim that Yeshua, Jesus, matches the life of the Passover lamb, but you have corrupted the unclear picture yourselves. You celebrate Palm Sunday, and then 7 days later you celebrate Easter. It doesn't fit. Doesn't fit, right? You don't bring the lamb in on a Sunday and slaughter it on a Sunday. You bring the lamb in on the 10th day of the month, biblical month, and then on the 14th is when it would be sacrificed. How can you hope to understand the Bible if you're willing to corrupt the word of the Creator? If you're not willing to do the things that He's telling you to do, you can't. There's no way to understand it. But moving on. Something you need to remember: the blood of a sacrifice is never wasted, ever. It is always used for something. It has a purpose, and you need to remember that. If you don't remember anything else, remember that the blood of a sacrifice is never, ever wasted. Now, the blood of the Passover lamb was used to place a mark or a sign on the doorposts of the homes of the faithful. If you didn't care, you didn't do it, right? If you weren't faithful to the God of Abraham, you're like, what are these people doing? They're nuts. I'm not doing that. Well, the blood of the Passover lamb is not used to cover the sins of the people inside the house. It's used as a sign on the outside, right? It's used as a sign on the outside of the house so that the Creator Himself, who will pass through the land, is going to be looking for that sign. He's going to be watching. He's going to look at these doors and see who's faithful, who's not, who's obedient, and who's not. Exodus 12:12, on that night I will pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn male, both man and beast. I will execute judgment against all the gods of Egypt. I am Jehovah. I know a lot of people who say, oh, the death angel passed through the land. No, it wasn't the death angel. You won't read it in that verse. It was our Creator Himself who was looking to, He's looking at every house. He's looking at every door, and He's looking to see who marked that door with a sign of obedience. If that sign wasn't on the door, He would kill the firstborn male. man and animal of any household, right? Now, hopefully you can see that the events leading up to the meal are far more important than the meal itself, because it is the obedience to the Creator's instructions that kept the firstborn males safe and alive. Now, did the people actually have to get it exactly, accurately right? Well, was every door marked exactly the same? I kind of doubt it. No two people do things exactly the same way. It might seem like it, but it's not exactly the same. That's not the point. The point wasn't in getting it exactly perfect. The focus was on the obedience, not the performance. The focus was on obedience, not the way the lamb tasted or the way the spices were applied to it. The focus was on the preparation, the practice, the rehearsal, not the meal. When we further distort an unclear picture by changing it for our convenience, we lose its meaning, we lose the purpose. It may not be about perfection, but it is about giving it our best effort, because that's really all we have to offer our Creator. He has everything else. All we can ever offer is the best that we can do. That's all we have. That's it. We don't have the convenience of being able to give him something he doesn't already have. He already created it all himself, including us. All we can do is the best we have to offer. Now, I'm not going to get into the timing of the crucifixion in this series. That's not what it's about. That's not what I'm attempting to accomplish. I'm not even going to get into the whole Easter thing, because I don't want that to be our focus either. It doesn't matter. But I hope in this, as this series continues, I want to explain how corrupting these unclear pictures has caused us to misinterpret and misunderstand the real meaning behind these appointed times, what they're for, why they are, and how we have missed so much because we have, and we're all guilty. We're all guilty. We're all guilty. We have corrupted these things. We have taken something that is already difficult to see and made it more difficult. He tried to make it easy, but that's the way it is. Every time he tries to do something, say, this is going to be so easy, they can't mess this up. And what do? We mess it up. We mess it up. What I want to show through this series is how we've messed it up and why it is so important that we start getting it right. Okay? So it's something to think about until next time. And until then, I do wish you many, many blessings, everyone.